Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are taking a microscope to a small object that, well, it completely rearranged the dynamics of a global sport.
It's true.
We often focus on these huge macro trends, the future of energy, geopolitical shifts, but sometimes the biggest revolution happens right there in the palm of your hand.
Mm.
We're talking about the physics, the sheer engineering challenge, and the improbable story behind the humble golf ball.
And humble is definitely the deceptive word there. People, they tend to think of it as just a simple white sphere, but the physics demanded of a high-performance golf ball are just a masterclass in contradictions.
Oh, so?
Well, think about it. It has to fly long and straight off the tee, right? Maximizing aerodynamics. But then the instant it hits the green, it has to stop. Just stop dead.
Like dropping a marble into wet cement.
Exactly. And at the same time, it has to give you this superb tactile feedback, a great feel, and somehow also be durable enough to survive a round of, well, abuse.
Historically, advances in golf ball tech were pretty evolutionary, a little tweak to the dimples, a new mix of rubber. But our deep dive today is about a single product that was both evolutionary and a massive revolutionary step.
The Titleist Pro V1.
That's the one.
And our mission here is to trace the high-stakes journey that created this thing. We're going to explore the intense corporate mandate, the years of some truly crazy R&D, and the accidental breakthrough that didn't just change a company.
It permanently altered how the game of golf is played, even for amateurs.
Absolutely.
So to understand the intensity, we have to go back.
Yeah.
We need to look at the market landscape in, the mid-1990s?
Yep, mid-90s. And if you were a serious golfer back then, you were trapped in this really frustrating either-or scenario.
You had two choices.
Two mutually exclusive options. Option A was the two-piece distance ball. These were engineered for incredibly low spin to maximize distance off the driver.
Great for your long game?
Great for the long game, but that same low spin profile meant they offered just terrible control and stopping power when you got anywhere near the green.
And option B, which is what most of the pros were using, were those traditional wound liquid center balls, the balata balls.
Right, and pros loved them. They delivered superb spin, you could work the ball, and they had that soft feel you needed for pinpoint precision in the short game.
But there was a big trade-off.
A huge one. Balata was soft and elastic, which gave it that feel, but it was notoriously fragile. I mean, one bad shot, a thinned wedge, and you could scuff the cover, completely ruining the ball.
Right. And worse, all that extra spin that you loved around the green.
It carried right over to your tee shot, and it just killed your overall distance compared to the newer solid construction balls that were coming onto the market.
And the competition, they were being aggressive. They were pushing those solid balls and framing the incumbent's wound ball as dead, obsolete technology.
Which created a real, an existential threat. The company knew its flagship product was becoming vulnerable. So the backdrop for all this development was this intense internal urgency.
The mandate was clear.
Crystal clear. If the wound ball was going to be replaced, they had to be the ones to do it. Failure wasn't an option, but just copying the competition wasn't an option either.
So that kind of threat, it really forces a company to rewrite its playbook. But why not just copy the two-piece design if it was gaining ground?
Well, it was partly corporate pride, but mostly technical. The goal was never just to match the distance ball. It was to combine the best features of both balls.
The Holy Grail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The distance of the solid ball with the soft feel and high spin of the balata. And with the materials they had at the time, that was basically a technical impossibility. They needed a new structure.
So this drove years of incredibly intensive R&D. The first efforts, they were pretty successful though, right?
Yeah.
In 1994, they brought out the professional golf ball.
And that was a fantastic stepping stone. Their first big effort with cast urethane. It lowered spin on the long game, but kept that great feel and control near the green. It was durable. It became the #1 ball on tour pretty quickly.
But it wasn't the final answer.
Not at all. The R&D team was still chasing that best of both worlds goal. A ball that acts like a distance ball with a driver, but then magically behaves like a high spin ball on approach shots.
And that search led to some absolutely wild experiments. The source material shows you have to follow every ridiculous path sometimes.
Oh, yeah. They were trying to invent a whole new core. The logbooks from that era, they run into thousands of pages, hundreds of chemical combinations, different densities, and testing literally dozens of bizarre fillers for the liquid center balls.
Wait, you mean trying different types of highly specialized polymers?
No, I mean actual household ingredients.
Hmm.
They documented filling liquid center balls with everything from common toothpaste to, rather regrettably, what the engineers called a tremendous waste of Guinness.
You're kidding me.
Yeah,
Guinness.
they were trying anything to get a specific core density or elasticity profile. They just knew that for every 20 ideas they had, probably 19 wouldn't work. But that process of documented failure was essential.
And that failure eventually led them to the breakthrough. Often does. It started right after a pretty spectacular commercial failure, actually.
The Pro 2 piece in 1995, the structure was supposed to be revolutionary. A very soft cover over a muscular two-piece internal structure.
They test marketed it in Texas.
And the feedback was instantaneous and brutal. Players called it slow and dead. It was a huge failure in the marketplace, but its failure gave them the exact insight they needed.
What was the technical problem? Why does it feel so dead?
Moisture absorption. The urethane cover, the key to the soft feel, is really susceptible to water, and the water was getting through the cover and into the core itself.
It wasn't just on the surface.
No, it was changing the molecular elasticity of the core. And when the core loses elasticity, it loses energy transfer. The ball feels inert, dead.
So the challenge was, how do you use that soft urethane cover for feel, but stop moisture from getting to the core without making the cover thick and hard?
Exactly. And this is where the crucial aha moment happened. The source says a group of R&D associates were sitting around a long boardroom table, frustrated, when one of them looked down at the table's high sheen finish.
A piece of office furniture.
A piece of office furniture. It had this very fine protective veneer, and the suggestion was born right there. What if we create a very, very thin veneer, a molecularly thin layer that acts as a moisture barrier?
Without compromising the feel of the cover.
Exactly. That tiny thin layer, the veneer, was the key. It let them marry the long-distance structure with the soft, high-spin cover. It was a third crucial layer. This became known internally as the veneer project.
So that failed Pro 2 piece was literally the necessary step to the greatest innovation in the industry.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And speaking of accidental origins, the name Pro V1, that was never supposed to be the final name, was it?
No, not at all. It was just a simple lab name for tracking. Pro came from their previous successful professional ball. V stood for veneer.
And 1, because it was the first one.
First one with the veneer structure. Initially, they even called it the Pro V1 392 for the dimple count. But as the ball started circulating in tests, players just started talking about this new Pro V or Pro V1. The name just stuck.
It's simple, punchy. It sounds new.
It did, and they knew they had something groundbreaking. It flew higher, it was longer, and, crucially, it kept that superior short game spin and feel. But before they could launch it, they needed tour validation.
Right. The pros need consistency above all else. Which brings us to the famous Sea Island test with Davis Love. This sounds like it was a top-secret operation.
It basically was. They sent a testing associate with a single white box of the Pro V1, and the instructions were strict. Bring back all 12 balls. They were that protective of the prototype.
So what did he think?
Well, the initial testing was all short game. Chips, flop shots. And Love was just genuinely shocked at how the ball responded from 40 yards and in. The control, the stopping power. It was unheard of for a ball that was also long.
But eventually, curiosity gets the better of them.
It always does. They moved to a par 4 to test distance. Davis Love tells the associate, tee one up and just let it rip. So the associate hits it and immediately realizes, this is not my normal golf ball. It flew so much farther than his standard shot that it went past his usual landing area and just vanished into a dense ditch.
Oh, no.
The pressure was intense. They couldn't lose this thing. They hunted for it for ages, came up empty. The associate had to go home with 11 balls, but thankfully he kept his job.
Man, there's a great little postscript to that story.
There is. His son later went back to the course, dug around, and actually found that lost Pro V1. The company politely declined to take it back.
Because the secret was about to get out.
It was. The launch came in October 2000 at the PGA Tour event in Vegas. They shipped 16,000 balls, which they figured was enough for maybe 20 players to get 3 dozen each.
A calculation that was immediately and hilariously blown out of the water.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
The buzz spread by word of mouth. Players were seeing it on the range and demanding to try it. The supply ran out so fast that by Tuesday, the company rep was literally scrambling, pulling half dozens from lockers just to supply the new guys who wanted in.
It was a mass movement.
Unprecedented.
Yeah.
These are pros fighting to keep their jobs. They don't mess with their equipment. Yet 47 players teed up the Pro V1 that first week. Many of them just hit it in one practice round and took this massive leap of faith.
And the proof came from Billy Andrade.
Billy Andrade. He was struggling, around 160th on the money list, desperately needing a good finish to keep his tour card. He switches to the Pro V1.
And what happens?
He was immediately hitting it 20, 30 yards further off the tee, and he had that incredible control around the greens. He ends up winning the whole event, the very first Pro V1 win.
Wow.
And when 4 of the top 5 finishers that week played the Pro V1, it was clear. The horse had left the barn and was halfway across the state line.
The market impact must have been just insane.
Immediate and unprecedented. The week after Vegas, 3 times as many players switched. Demand just completely outpaced manufacturing. That little Fairhaven factory became a 247 operation.
And the metrics on that are just staggering.
Get this. Within its first month, the Pro V1, as a single ball model, secured a 5.6% market share. That one ball had a larger share than most other entire golf ball companies.
It became a cultural moment, a watershed moment. The media attention was huge.
You had Brad Faxon setting scoring records, Davis Love setting the scoring record at Pebble Beach, and then in March 2001, the front page of USA Today. A picture of the ball with the headline, "The ball that's turning golf upside down." It was mainstream news.
And all of that success was the culmination of, what, a decade of R&D from 100 people?
About that, yeah. But they didn't stop. They realized they needed to expand the line for different players, different swing speeds.
Which led to the Pro V1X. Can you explain that difference? Because people still ask which ball is longer, the V1 or the V1X.
So the Pro V1X introduced a dual core. It's a smaller, dense inner core surrounded by a larger, softer outer core. It maximizes speed for players with higher swing speeds. It typically launches higher with lower spin than the original V1.
So if you, the listener, are asking which one is longer, the answer the engineers give now is neither and both.
That's right. The key is that they offer different launch characteristics, not necessarily more distance. It's all about optimizing launch and spin for your specific swing, and being able to dial that in has been key to their dominance.
And the innovation, it keeps going,
Yeah.
even if the core technology is stable.
Right. They developed the tiling method in 2011 for more consistent dimple patterns, then released completely new patterns again in 2017 and 2021. The product is always evolving.
It's also crucial to remember the community legacy here. The headquarters and manufacturing are still in Fairhaven, Massachusetts.
Since 1932, they rely on a committed, often generational workforce. Grandparents, aunts, uncles have all worked there. That success wasn't just a win for the company, it was a huge benefit for that community for decades.
So when you step back, the Pro V1 is this extraordinary story, a spectacular failure. The Pro 2 piece leads to a moment of critical thinking,
The veneer idea from an office table.
which then transforms an entire global sport overnight, with a perfect storm of motivated people, market pressure, and, well, accidental genius.
It was truly transformational, and the work hasn't stopped. Materials team is still at it today, 25 years later, looking for new rubbers, new compounds. They're always on the hunt for the next industry-disrupting composition.
Which raises this incredible question, one the engineers themselves asked. Will we ever see another single revolutionary leap in golf tech like the Pro V1 again? We've seen 25 years of massive, continuous evolution, but never another single jump like that. It makes you wonder if future innovation will just be incremental, or if all that sustained R&D will eventually produce another flash of unexpected game-changing genius, something for you to mull over the next time you step up to the tee.